Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present. Find yourself seated on a nice, comfortable pillow or cushion or block, something that allows the back of your spine and the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest, opening up your diaphragm, and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. And soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may want to think of a positive word to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is Pranayama, which is the fourth limb of Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga. So the first thing we do when we're born is take a breath. The last thing we do before we die is take a breath. Breathing is our source of life, and we do it quite unconsciously. Pranayama is about breathing consciously. Prana is Sanskrit for life force, and Yama is Sanskrit for control. Pranayama starts with awareness and uses controls or techniques to have our breath guide us into well-being. We can use these techniques for yoga in our asana or meditation practices, or we can use them off the mat to reduce anxiety, increase energy, and improve sleep. So today we're going to do quite a few different breathing techniques, or pranayamas. So let's just start with just observing our own natural breath. We'll just take a moment if you want to close your eyes and just kind of take in, if you're breathing, when you're breathing naturally, are you breathing through your nose or are you breathing through your mouth? Or is it a combination of both? There's a yogi saying about breathing from your nose and from your mouth, or from your mouth. And personally, I find myself doing both. Especially when I'm exerting energy, it's from my mouth. But there's a yogi saying that the nose is for breathing and the mouth is for eating. I think it's a very clever way of thinking about it. And the American Lung Association agrees with that comment. The nostrils filters, warms, and humidifies air in a way that the mouth can't. It helps to regulate the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels and improve blood circulation. So let's just take an observation again, and with our breathing, we'll kind of send it down from our nose to our mouth, down to our chest and stomach area, and just kind of focus in on your natural breath. And do you breathe from your chest, or do you feel that it kind of comes up from your stomach? And again, personally, there's different times when I feel that I'm breathing better from my stomach than from my chest, just kind of a resting area. If you're breathing in your chest area all the time, it's, well, I'll explain by quoting what Harvard Health says. So Harvard Health claims that stomach breathing encourages full oxygen exchange, slows the heartbeat, and can lower blood pressure. They suggest practicing a breathing technique 5 to 10 minutes a day. And if you're meditators, that you can incorporate that breathing techniques into your meditation practice very easily. In fact, a lot of meditation practice are solely based on breathing. But back to the chest breathing, your sympathetic nervous system gets activated if you're only breathing through your chest. So it's that fight and flight kind of syndrome. And it adds stress to your body if you're in that syndrome all the time. So by breathing or bringing your breath down into your stomach, it allows that parasympathetic, that calming nervous system to take over. And the book, I've mentioned it before, Breath, and it's by James Nestor, and it's the new science of a lost art. And pranayama, again, goes back 5,000 years. So he actually, I was kind of just browsing through it a little bit again before we started class, but toward the end of the book, he has several breathing methods. One is the alternate nostril breathing, which we'll do in a few minutes, the Nadi Shodhana. I mean, he has a few that I'm not familiar with here. And one I was actually looking at the other day is I don't know if I can pronounce this right, Sudarshan Kriya, which is also known as the sky method. And that's quite a, even, I don't know if it was Cleveland or Harvard talked about it being a proven technique for aiding you in your breathing, getting your breath the way it should be. So if anybody wants to borrow that book, by the way, I'd be more than happy to loan it out. So I'm going to go to the mat. We're going to do a lot of breathing techniques today and some asanas. So let me get there. And the first one we talk a lot about is the Dirja Pranayama, which is it's called complete breath or three-part breath, I think is what it's most commonly known as. And that's like the basic yogic breath. And we did it a few weeks ago, just using this mudra technique to help assist with that. So the idea, and you can put your hand on your tummy and your other hand on your chest. The idea is to breathe completely three parts: the stomach, the ribs, and the chest. So you're inhaling through the nose, expanding your stomach, setting that airflow up to your ribs and then up to your chest. And then through exhaling through your nose, you're going to send it away from your chest, let it flow away from your ribs, and then flow away from your stomach. And let's just try that for a few moments. And feel that expansion on the inhale, and then the release and flow away on the exhale. And if you find that you're not feeling that you're doing it fully, the mudra can assist in that. So having your hands open, you will feel that your breath kind of remains up in your chest area. And by bringing your index finger and your thumb together and breathing, you should feel it coming down into your ribs. And then adding your middle finger to the thumb, you should feel it expanding your stomach. So that might help. You can have that with your meditation practice as your mudra to help you fully breathe in the complete breath, three-part breath. Alrighty, and then the next one of my favorite ones, Samavriti, which means equal length breath in Sanskrit. And based on James Nestor's book, he did a whole bunch of scientific experiments as well, studies. He found that the ideal length of breath, inhale and exhale being equal, is 5.5 seconds. So 5.5 seconds on the inhale and 5.5 seconds on the exhale. That is the ideal length. So with the equal length, you would breathe in the 5.5 seconds and breathe out the 5.5 seconds. And you can do that to a count, if that will help you. And why it is one of my favorite ones. It's the one that I use most trying to get myself to go to sleep. If I'm like wide awake or if I have monkey brain, I focus on the count. And I've done different ones over the time because I used to do 6 inhale, 6 exhale, and I find now that was just too busy for my mind. So I actually take really deep breaths, 1, 2, and then on the exhale, 3, 4, and they're all equal. 1, 2 on the inhale and 3, 4 on the exhale. So just making them equal, but not having all those numbers making my mind even more busy than it was, I think is starting to help that situation. The other thing about Samavriti, the equal length breath, is that you can have inhales and exhales, but you can also have equal length pauses in between. And a classic one is called box breath. And box breath is used by the military services a lot to reduce anxiety and yeah, basically reduce anxiety. I think the Navy SEALs were a big proponent of it. So that you would breathe in on a count, say 4, hold for 4, then exhale on count of 4, and then hold on count of 4. So that's box breath. And that's, again, samavriti, it's equal length breath. You're just putting some pauses in the middle of it. And then Vishma Vriti. Oops, I'm sorry. Vishama Vriti. Vishama Vriti is unequal length breath. And you can increase the inhale count over the exhale to increase energy, or you can increase the exhale count to have more relaxation. So, like for example, for more energy, you breathe in to the count of 6 and exhale to the count of 4. So more energy, more life, prana comes in. And then for relaxing, you would do inhale to the count of 4 and exhale to the count of 6. And there's a quite popular, I guess. This one, personally doesn't work for me, but it's if you Google it, it comes up a lot. And it's for sleep, and it's called 4-7-8. So you inhale, count of 4, you pause for the count of 7, and you exhale for the count of 8. To me, that pause of 7 is pretty long, and again, it gets back to too many numbers making my mind busy. But it's specifically designed for sleep, so you can give that a whirl too. So there's 3 examples of pranayama, actually controlling the awareness of your breath. And we're going to go into the asanas now and start with the seated sun breath, what we usually do. But I'd like you to pick whichever one you like. You can do that Deirdre, make sure that your tummy's coming up and really focusing on the inhale and exhale, the 3-part breath. You can do Samavriti, 5.5 seconds would be an equal length breath. Or you can do the Vishama Vriti, which you can either choose to have your inhale count be longer or your exhale count be longer. So your choice, and we'll just start. And I'm actually going to do the Samavriti and try for 5.5 seconds. I have my little clock here, and so I'm going to try to time it for the 5.5 seconds. So inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And we'll do one more. And I should mention with that 4-7-8 sleeping breath, and back to the thing about your nose is for breathing, your mouth's for eating. That 8 count, the exhale count, is having your mouth open and making kind of a whooshing sound. So it almost sounds like you're sleeping with a little bit of a snore going on. So it's inhale, 4, and then hold 7, and then through your mouth, a whooshing sound on the 8 count at the end. So um, again, something that I've not been successful using, but I have a friend that's what she uses a lot. So let's get onto our hands and knees to tabletop, and we'll get ourselves with our wrists right below our shoulders, knees right below our hips, navel's tucked to the spine, and then we send the head to the right and back to the left, and then back to the right, and back to the left, and back to the right again. And one last time to the left. And then coming back to tabletop, we'll go into our cat-cows, and we'll round the back, dropping the head and tailbone down for cat, and then lifting the head and tailbone up for cow. And then again, exhaling, dropping the head and tailbone down. And then up for cow. And you could do this using the Samavriti method if you want to have a nice even flow of your movements. Just set a number that works well, and if it's that 5.5 seconds, that would be great as well. And then we'll come back to tabletop, and we'll bring our knees together. Now that even distribution of weight into our hands, that balance. And then we're going to lift the right leg up and lift the left arm up for bird dog. And we'll point the toes to 4, or actually, we're going to point the toes to 6. So that's the inhale. And then flex the foot to 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flex the foot. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Last inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring it down. We'll switch sides. Sending the left leg up and the right arm up. Pointing the toe. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll put both hands down. And then we're going to swing our legs to the right side and bring our seat down on the mat and come into deer pose. So just kind of spreading your knees apart. And we're going to take our right hand, bringing it to the left knee, and twisting our torso to the left. Left fingertips are behind the hips. And then come back to center, and then we'll twist over to the other side. So left hand on the right knee, right fingertips behind. Take a few deep breaths here. And then come back to center. We'll come back to tabletop and then swing our legs to the opposite side. And then coming back down onto the mat. And we'll bring our left fingertips to our right knee, right fingertips behind our back. And then come back to center, and then right hand to the left knee, left fingertips behind our back, behind our hips, and twisting to the other side. And you may have noticed I didn't talk about Ujjayi breath, which I feel is the soundtrack to our yoga practice. But I feel like I talk about that one a lot, so I'm giving some time to other techniques. And then we'll come back to center. And we'll come up to tabletop. We'll tuck, oh, actually, no. I was going to tuck our toes under, but I haven't yet another one to talk about. And I do talk about this one quite a bit too, the Nadi Shadana, or the alternate nostril breath. And it's about cleansing. So it cleanses and balances the flow of energy up through the left and right side energy channels that run along your spine. And they actually intersect in your major chakras. So there's these energy channels that, I think I've mentioned this before, that I had a yoga teacher that started every class with this breathing technique, just to kind of clear out your chakras and cleanse and have the energy be able to flow up. It's also a breathing technique that's wonderful for stress. And I've recounted the story a number of times where, and again, this is what I heard from my yoga teacher, that there was someone who had chronic anxiety, debilitating anxiety, and tried I think all non-medical approaches to resolve it. And this was the only thing that worked, from meditation and acupuncture and other techniques. This one, the Nadi Shadana, was the only thing that relieved his anxiety. So it's a multi-purpose, multi-useful. Probably if you had to have one breathing technique in your holster to bring out to use, this would be the one. So let's see. The mudra that goes with that is called Vishnu mudra. And you have your hand out, and you bring your index and your middle finger down, leaving your thumb and your ring finger and your pinkies extended as well. And this is actually a mudra for balance. So while you're cleansing and balancing your energy channels, this is also adding to that balance. If this is an uncomfortable mudra for you, you can just use your index finger and your thumb. And the idea with Nadi Shodhana or alternate nostril breathing is, as it says, you're going to close one nostril down and breathe through the other nostril until you get to the inhale, top of the inhale. And then once you're at the top of the inhale, you close that particular nostril down and exhale through the other nostril. And then inhale through that same nostril. And when you reach the top of the inhale, you would close that one down and exhale. So every time you reach the top of the inhale, close that nostril down and switch to the other nostril. All right. And as was recommended, I think that one was Harvard. We were talking about stomach breathing. They suggest having a breathing technique 5 to 10 minutes a day. So, that one is one you could use. Maybe not while you're meditating, but it's in place of perhaps meditation. All right. So now let's come to the tabletop and we'll tuck our toes under and walk our hands back and come up to mat and pose. We'll line up our toes to the straight edge of the mat and then lift our toes up, spreading them apart as much as we can, and then bringing them back down on the mat, lifting our heels up and bringing our heels back down, really feeling that grounding, that connection to the earth. And then with mountain, we also have the essentials of good posture. So our legs are nice and straight and strong. And knees have a little flex. Navel's tucked to the spine. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Back of our spine, back of our necks stand nice and long and tall. The chin is tucked ever so slightly back. The crown of the head's reaching up to the sky. And we're going to sweep our hands all the way up overhead. And today we're just kind of stretching them up to the sky, really, really stretching them, not just bringing them over your head, really reaching up to the sky, really stretching that up part of your body. Big inhale, and then exhale, bringing them down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, support our lower back. And then bringing our hands to our shins, half forward fold. So our back is nice and straight and long. Back of the neck is nice and long by setting your gaze straight down. And then setting the crown of your head down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. And as we bring our hands up, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes. You really stretch up to the sky. And then exhaling, bringing your hands back down, our heels back down to the mat. Hands come all the way down to the mat. And then our hands come to our shins, nice flat back again. half forward fold. And then the crown of the head reaching down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. We're going to bring our right hand to our left wrist, and we'll tip our left hand over to the right. Just stretching out. And then back to center. And switch hands. Left hand wraps around the right wrist, sending our right fingertips over to the left. And then back up. We'll do that again. Switch hands. Left fingertips go over to the right. And then back up. And switching hands, right fingertips go over to the left. And then back up. Alrighty, and then we'll bring our hands back down to the mat, bending your knees as we go. Hands come to our shins, back is nice and flat, straight. Dropping the head down toward the mat. And we'll sweep our hands all the way up again, all the way up overhead. And then we're going to bring them down to shoulder height. And bend our knees. We're going to come into chair pose. And stay here for a moment. Take a nice deep breath. And then coming back up again. And then we'll come back down for two more. And just kind of keep your breath flowing nicely. And then back up. And one last time, coming down in chair pose. See if you can get a little bit lower in your squat. And then back up again. Alrighty, and then we'll bring our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Hands then come to our shins, nice flat back. And then the crown of the head reaches down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up. We'll bring our palms together. Palms come to heart center. And palms come to the back of the hips for supported back bend. The fingertips pointing down. Shoulders are really relaxed, kind of giving them a roll to really loosen them up. Tucking the chin toward your chest, you just let your shoulders drop back. And again, breathing. Find a nice, even flow to your breath. And then coming back up. All right. We're going to bring our pinky toes to the edges of the mat. Heels are tucked in. And we're going to bring our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. And we're going to come into the wide-legged squat. So we're going to send our hips down to the mat. Elbows resting on the inside of our legs. We'll be in this position just for a moment. And I found myself this week doing something in the garden that had a little stress in my legs, and I found myself, before I even realized it, sending nourishing exhales to that tension to try to ease it up. And I'm like, wow, this yoga thing's getting pretty automatic. And then we'll sit down on the mat and we'll talk about another breathing technique. And there's two versions of this one, the Loma. And Viloma is Sanskrit for against the grain. And what it's meant to do is develop skillful breath control and awareness. So that's, there's these techniques, are techniques, and you do have to practice them. So this is a good one to try to really bring that awareness to your breath and control it. So when you're doing the pranayamas, which is conscious breathing, it helps you be more aware of what you're doing. So the first phase of it is placing pauses within the inhales. So it leads to the sensation of energy rising along the spine and incorporates breath retention. So again, we did a little bit, talked about the box breath, having the breath retention too. So pausing your breath is also, I think it makes you more aware of your breath. It brings your focus more in on your breath. So the inhale, you're going to start with your stomach. You're going to inhale twice and then pause, and then bring the breath up, inhale up to your ribs, and to the count of 3, 4, and pause. And then the last phase is 5, 6, and then you pause up in your chest. So again, we're going to start with the stomach. So inhale with your stomach, 1, 2, and pause. And then bring it up to your ribs, 3, 4, and pause. Really feel it there. And then up to your chest, 5, 6, and pause. And then exhale, one exhale. You can breathe it out through your mouth or through your nose. So you breathe slowly, exhaling. So let's try that again. So inhale, 1, 2, pause. And then up to your ribs, 3, 4, pause. And then up to your chest, 5, 6, pause. And then exhale. All right. So a technique. And we'll go back to tabletop. And then we're going to extend both feet down to the end of the mat, come into plank. And then we'll come down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Sliding the fingers to the front of the mat, come into Sphinx. Feel that on your lower back. And then sliding your hands alongside, resting your chin on the mat. We're going to lift the right leg up and then lower it. Lift the left leg up and lower it. And then lift both legs and both arms up, soaring like an airplane. And then back down. And bring our hands under our shoulders, elbows tucked to our ribs, and lift our chin and chest up into cobra. And then lower our chin and chest down. And then lift it back up again for cobra. And then back down. And then the third one's going to be up dog. So you're going to connect the tops of your feet to the mat. And extend your arms fully, lifting your chest up, and then coming up off the mat for up dog. And then flip our feet over and come into downward dog. And pedal out here for a moment. And then we'll bring our right knee to our right elbow, pushing off with the left foot. And then back and to downward dog and pedaling out. And then right knee to the right elbow again, pushing off with the left foot. And then back again to downward dog and pedal out. And then we're going to bring the right foot up all the way. So bending the knee, sending all the way up, coming into runner's lunge. So bring the left knee down to the mat. Front knee is right over the ankle. And we'll lift our hands, sweeping them up to the sky for low lunge. And then back down, tucking our back foot under. We're going to come up either to high lunge, leaving the ball of your back foot connected to the mat, or you can bring the back heel down to the mat for warrior one, whichever you feel more stable in. So we'll lift up to high lunge or warrior one. And then sweep our hands down, and as we do, we're going to straighten our front leg out. Sending our arms back. And then sweeping them up again, bending the knee in the front. And then sweeping our hands down, straightening out our front leg. Sweeping the hands up again. And then back down, straightening out the leg. And then one last time, we'll sweep them up. And then bring them down to the mat. And we're going to plant the left hand into the mat and sweep the right hand up to the sky. And then back down again. Oh, yep. I knew there was something else. When we bring the hand back down, we're going to place the right hand right next to the inner part of the foot. So we're going to have both hands on the left side of the foot for lizard pose. And you can either have your back legs extended up or lowering it down to the mat. We'll just breathe through this for a moment. Alrighty. And then we'll bring our right hand to frame the foot again back to runner's lunge. And then we'll bring the right foot back to plank pose. And we'll do that all on the other side. So we're going to lower down to the mat, chaturanga, or knees, chest, chin. Sliding both hands to the front of the mat for Sphinx pose. Elbows are right below the shoulders. Tops of your feet are engaged. And then we'll slide our hands all the way down alongside of us. Come into a supine position where our chin's on the mat. And then we'll lift the right leg up and bring it back down. Lift the left leg up and bring it back down. And then lift both legs and both arms up. And then bring those back down. We'll bring our hands right below our shoulders again, elbows tucked to the side. And we'll lift our chin and chest up into cobra. And then back down. And once again, lift the chin and chest up, coming into cobra. And then back down. And then the third one will be the up dog. So we're going to connect our tops of our feet to the mat, fully extend our arms, coming up off the mat, and then flipping our feet over and coming into downward dog. And we'll pedal out here for a moment. And then send the left knee to the left elbow, pushing off with the right toes, and then back again, and pedal out. And then again, left knee to left elbow, and then back again, pedal out. And then this last one, we're going to bend our knee and bring it all the way up for a runner's lunge. And bring our right knee down to the mat. Top of the right foot connects with the mat. Left knee is right over the left ankle. And we'll sweep our hands up for low lunge. And then bring our hands back down. Tuck our back foot under. And we're going to either do high lunge or warrior one. So high lunge would be the ball of your foot on the mat. Warrior one would be pivoting your back foot down. So it gives you more stability. And we'll raise our arms up to the sky. And then bring our arms down, straightening out our front leg. And then back up, coming back to high lunge. And sweeping our hands back down again, straightening the front leg. And then back up again. And one more sweep down. And then sweeping back up to high lunge. And then bringing both hands back down to the mat. We'll plant the right hand into the mat, sweeping our left hand up to the sky. And then bringing the left hand down, joining the right hand on the right side of the foot, coming into lizard pose. Again, you can have your back leg either up or bring the knee down to the mat for lizard pose. And then we'll bring the right hand on the left side to frame the foot. Bring the left foot back to join the right foot, coming into plank pose, and then bringing both knees down to the mat. And coming into a seated pose, let's talk about Viloma, the second phase of it. So, where we did the inhales to bring on more energy, the second part is to focus your pauses on the exhale to bring relaxation. So that brings that sensation of relaxation all the way down your spine. So we're going to inhale all the way up, one big inhale, and then exhale, counting backwards, 6-5 from the chest, let it flow away, 4-3 from the ribs, let it flow away, and 2-1 from the stomach, let it flow away. And the flow away should be pauses, actually. So let's do that 2 more times. So again, one big inhale, and then 6-5 from the chest, pause. 4-3 from the ribs, pause. 2-1 from the stomach, pause. And then big inhale again. And then 6-5, exhaling, pause. 4-3 from the ribs, pause. And 2-1 from the stomach, pause. Well done. Alrighty, let's roll down on our back, bringing our knees to our chest, giving them a nice hug. Maybe rock back and forth, give your lower back a nice massage. And if you'd like, you can make big circles with your toes, going clockwise and then counterclockwise. And then bringing our feet down to the mat. We're going to bring our hands down to the mat. With our feet about hip width apart, we're going to do some windshield wipers. So keeping your hips on the mat, back of your hips on the mat. Just drop our knees to one side and then inhaling, bringing them up and then dropping them over to the other side. And you can connect with your breath on the inhales and the exhales. Connect the movements to the inhales and exhales. Go at your own pace. When your knees are straight up, you can pause there, and we're going to do a few bridge poses too. So keeping your arms with your palms down, supporting you, have them alongside, and your knees are about width apart, and bringing your heels toward your hips. We're going to tuck our navel to our spine, creating that bowl. And then let's do a few cat cows first. So we'll create that cat bowl, and then exhaling, rounding, creating that arch in the back, and then inhaling, creating that bowl, and then exhaling, creating an arch, and then inhaling, creating the bowl. And when we do that, let's push down into the feet, lifting our hips up to the sky. You can go as moderate height for this one, and we're going to do it 2 more times, so you can try to increase the height each time if you'd like. And then slowly lowering back down, connecting each vertebra with the mat. And then we'll do a few more cat cows here before liftoff. So inhale, tucking the navel to the spine, creating the bowl. And exhale, arch. Inhale, bowl. Exhale, arch. And then inhale, bowl, and then push down your feet for liftoff. Bringing your hips up, maybe a little bit higher. Maybe rolling your shoulders under just a touch. Bring your hips up higher. And then slowly again, lowering down, connecting each vertebra as it comes down. Okay, and one last time. Creating that bowl on the inhale. Exhale the arch. Inhale the bowl. Exhale the arch. Inhale the bowl. And then lift off, pushing down into your feet. Perhaps connecting or interlacing your hands underneath your hips. And then release. Slowly bring everything back down. And then we'll send our feet down to the bottom of the mat and send our hands up and overhead. And really stretch, reaching your hands up and pointing, reaching your feet down, really stretching out everything. And then we'll bring our right foot to the right edge of the mat and send the left foot alongside of it. Or if you like, you can cross that left foot over your right ankle. Then we'll bring the right hand off the mat toward the right and bringing, well, actually, I'm sorry. We're going to grab our left wrist because our left hand won't know what to do. We're going to grab our left wrist with our right hand and then guide the left fingertips over to the left. Don't want to leave the left hand all by itself. So we're coming into banana pose. And then we'll come back to center, really stretching everything out again. And then bringing the left foot off the mat toward the left, and bringing the right foot beside it or crossed over. We're going to take our left hand, grabbing the right wrist, and guide the right fingertips over to the right side. And then come back to center and slide your arms down. Prepare for Shavasana. Sending your heels out to the corners of the mat, palms facing up, really relaxing everything. And this is where breaths come in handy too. So you inhale deeply through your nose and exhale deeply through your mouth and just let everything melt into the mat. You can do that a couple more times and I'll read today's poem to you. It's a poem by Donna Fauld, and it reads, breathe in spaciousness and acceptance of what is. Breathe out resistance. Breathe in possibility and optimism. Breathe out fear and doubt. Breathe in ease. Breathe out the need to change the way this moment is unfolding. Breathe in the certainty that what we really are is so much bigger than pain and suffering. Breathe out limitation and conditioning. Breathe in divinity and openness. Breathe out a prayer of thanks that even in the midst of difficulty, there is awareness.